Hello and welcome to Community Conversations here on Love Bay Radio, where you get all your Afrobeat music, talk, and everything that you need to keep yourself pumped and going and encouraged throughout the week. My name is Nadia Headley, and I am so thankful to be here to share with you. I have an amazing guest lined up for you, and for the first time, we are live on location. I am coming to you from the Enrich Center here in Vaughan. So that's north of Toronto if you're not familiar. We're at Tandem and Steeles, so closest cross section, Keel and Steeles. And we can't wait to have you join us, whether you want to have join us in our co-working or have a virtual address or host your event here. Can't wait to have you. But I have the pleasure of speaking with Sandra Anin, and we'll have her come on with us a little bit later. But before we do that, we are going to go into our first segment. Sorry, guys. There we go. We're going to go into our first segment for the day, which is What's Going On, where we talk about things going on in our community. And if you want your business logo to be flashing up on my screen right now, make sure to send us an email at lovebayradio@gmail.com. So, what is going on in our community? All of December, we have been talking about collaboration. And in this segment, we've been talking about South-South cooperation. And if you missed it before, South-South cooperation is when countries in the global South work together. Why does that matter? Why is that important? Well, if we look at where the money is in our world today, at this point in history, the money, the power is in the north of our globe. If you look at a map, you'll see that the most powerful nations are at the north of our globe. And so when we as developing countries in the southern regions of our planet work together, that is called South-South cooperation. And with South-South cooperation, it's about sharing ideas and sharing all the different ways that we can bring our local, tribal, indigenous knowledge together to support one another in new, vibrant ways that we had not thought of before. I'm sharing with you a link down below in the chat, so make sure you go click it, because whatever I talk to you about, I'm always making sure that you can check up on it. You know, we bring receipts, and so you can do your own research and follow along. So I'm sharing with you the priorities for South-South cooperation and a new term for you, triangular cooperation. This is where we allow the North to engage, but basically they fund the process, right? So the North gives the money to the South, and South and the South, we cooperate with one another. That's how triangular cooperation works. And so for the sub-Saharan region in Africa, the focus is on specific goals for the Sustainable Development Goals. Is that also a new term for you? The Sustainable Development Goals. This is the first time that as an international development community, we went to the people and we said, what is it that you want us to work on? And then as an international community of development specialists, we decided how we would bring all of our network and net worth to bear to support what's important to the people around the globe. And so we came up with these 17 goals, quite lofty, but that's the work that we do as social change makers. And so the specific goals that are the focus for South-South cooperation in sub-Saharan Africa are the first one, so SDG 1, that's to end poverty in all forms and everywhere. SDG 2, to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. So we talked last week about how the government officials from Congo went to Brazil to find out how Brazil is able to fund local farmers so that they can provide food to schools in their food feeding programs, because not just do we want children to have food, we know hungry children can't learn, but we want to increase the amount of nutrition they have in their food. And they're also meeting the needs of those local farmers who would have more trouble getting their produce to market. And so Congo was able to go over to Brazil to find out more about that. So that's one of those initiatives that that you would hear about. And again, you got that link, so make sure that you're reading up. And so, like we said, we're not just talking about can you access food, but how nutritious is this food? They're talking about promoting sustainable agriculture. Take a look. I learned recently about regenerative agriculture, which is very interesting to me. I'll do more research on that, and we'll come back and chat about that at a later time. We're also focusing on SDG number 5, which is achieve gender equality, education, and empowerment for all women and girls. If you are in a region where your current standard of education is actually failing boys, let me know. Put that in the comments below. Let me know what you are experiencing. As a global community, we have been focusing, rightfully so, on gender equity in education to support our women and girls who have been denied their basic human rights to access high quality education. But for developed and more developing countries, we're actually seeing a pendulum shift where we've put so much focus on our girls that we kind of forgot about our boys. And if we're honest with ourselves, this has been happening for well over 15 years or so. If you think that that's happening in your country, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you think about the state of education where you are, because we're talking about that all January. For SDG number 8, we're looking to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth throughout sub-Saharan Africa through our South-South Corporation, with full and productive employment and decent work for all. Decent work, that's a whole topic. Trust me, we will get into it. I'll probably get some friends from ILO to join us on that one. We're looking to build resilient infrastructure. So sub-Saharan Africa is not going to fall into small island developing states, except for Capo Verde and maybe Madagascar, Mauritius, over on that side, maybe the Southern Isles. But really, as nation states, are not tons of small island developing states that tend to fall under that cluster. So building resilient infrastructure is probably going to be looking more at drought, water wells, probably also going to be looking more at earthquake sustainability. So interested to hear what that looks like on a large landmass versus small islands. Taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts is SDG 13. For 16, it's promoting peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Heard recently about some sub-Saharan African countries where a woman's right to launch a complaint against her husband is not heard. If you are in such a country, please let me know what that's like. Growing up as a woman, if you, let's say you're in a domestic violence situation and you don't actually have legal recourse, tell me what that is like, please, in the comments below. And finally, South-South Cooperation in Sub-Saharan Africa is focusing on SDG 17, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. So sustainable development is a word that comes up a lot. I actually, when I mentor burgeoning development professionals, I actually ban them from using the term because we throw it around so much, we no longer know what it means. And I think if we're having conversations in our community, we need to use language that makes sense to people. What does this mean for you then? Why should you know about South-South cooperation? Why should you care about what's going on in these countries across the world? Well, let's take, for example, that in order to get anything done, even at the highest levels, no man is an island. We actually really need to come together. We need to pull together. We need to pool our resources, pool our experiences and our knowledge so that we can build better. The world that many of us have been handed across the globe was decided for us by a handful of males, white males, sitting at a table deciding what the world should look like and who should have what resources. Now, in 2024, this is not our reality. But in doing so, we can't do it by fighting against each other. So if you're in a scenario where you hear things like, oh, Black people don't work together because we don't trust each other, and, you know, Black people are always tearing one another down. And if you are, you know, in countries that love to use words like Black on Black crime, because that's the only type of crime that exists, apparently, you know, if these are things that you are hearing, then we need to make conscious decisions to be able to combat that. And it starts with our own level of awareness. So by understanding that the world is working on these major goals, pushing towards the year 2030, and it can't be done solo, that's major inspiration for us to realize that we need to work together in our small communities, right? And there is none better than for me to ask Madam Sandra Anin to prepare herself to come up and join us as we get ready for this amazing conversation. We are talking about how the hustle and grind culture on social media has been teaching our youth that they have to do it all themselves in order to flaunt their photos of their fancy sports cars and their private jets and their lavish homes. Mind you, these things are being rented for these Instagram videos and pictures, by the way. Like, a lot of these young people don't actually own any of this stuff. Nonetheless, you know, those who rise to the top of their industries, they really do so by building strong collaborations that generate a great deal of success for all of those involved. That's the reality of how we win. But it doesn't look that way to our young people who are just following along on social media. So in this conversation, I got a chance to sit down with Sandra. She's a board director and strategic partnership coordinator of Intimate Sessions, a nonprofit organization that focuses on sisterhood, inclusion, and empowerment, as well as a board director of P.E.A.C.H, that's P-E.A.C.H, a grassroots group that focuses on promoting education and community health in the Jane and Finch community in Toronto. Did you hear me? Toronto only has one T now because I am officially a Torontonian. Toronto for the rest of us around the world, so that we can discuss how youth can learn the importance of collaboration right here, right now. So join me, give a round of applause as I welcome the beautiful and lovely Madam Sandra Anin to come up here and join me again. We are coming to you live on location from the Enrich Center. Come on over, Sandra.
Am I going? Hi, guys.
Yes, there we go.
I'm here.
Voila. Okay. And just as we're able to facilitate this conversation today with Sandra, if you would like to get your podcast set up, let's scoot you up somewhere. Yeah.
Jump on.
All right. We can facilitate your podcasting, your photo shoots, like I said, co-working, you know, virtual address, or your next event, whatever you need, give us a call. Go to our website, enrichcenter.com. But now let's talk about Sandra. Sandra, I hope you're not going to get embarrassed, but I'm going to show off about you a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my
you
gosh.
Ready? Okay. So Sandra was born and raised in Jane and Finch, one of Toronto's most dangerous neighborhoods. Yo, listen, I didn't know that when I first moved here.
Deemed.
Listen, Toronto is very interesting for me because when I lived in New York, when you drive into the projects, like, you know, that's where you are.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Everything just feels like a Western movie. You know what I mean? The buildings are super high. Mm-hmm. You know that you're in the projects. But in Toronto, you drive through dangerous areas and you don't actually know that you're there.
Exactly.
It doesn't look and feel terribly different, you know? So, like, I would tell my husband, oh, I got off the bus at this stop. And he's like, why? Oh what's wrong?
It's the media.
Right. I would never have known. But despite her surroundings, Sandra defeated many barriers placed in her path along the way. She was able to avoid falling into the margins of negative statistics placed on the youth living in her community. Sandra is an author, writer, speaker, and entrepreneur. She is also named one of the 100 Black Canadian women inducted as a role model in Toronto, Canada in 2016. one of Canada's top 100 Black women to watch of 2022, a nominee for the 2023 Women of Diversity Leadership Award, girl, and a nominee for the 2022 Mentor Award at the Women Empowerment Awards. Sandra Anin, as we mentioned in her board directorship, is a leader in the nonprofit space. In her spare time, she enjoys giving back to her community through volunteer work as an advocate for Black women's empowerment, entrepreneurship, and children's education. We can get down in that conversation for sure. Sandra's tireless contributions to her community haven't gone unnoticed. And she has not only given back through her volunteer work, she also spends the time speaking to youth and children in elementary school to high school. Her focus is to encourage young men and women to be resilient and to push through the odds, even if things seem to defy their outcome. There is always a silver lining, and their focus should be their focus. Her goal is to inspire young men and women to dream big like she did as a child, that nothing in life is impossible. Go after your dreams. Girl, welcome to Community Conversations. Yay!
I'm so happy to be here in person.
Yes. And I'll ask production to do me a favor and just add Sandra's name where my name is, please, so that people know that it's two of us, because we haven't done the one person, like the one video shot for two people.
Oh, it's always, I know it's always the two. Yeah.
So this is new for us, and I'm really excited to be trying something. Yeah.
Share it to my daddy.
Yeah. So daddy, come on live,
Daddy, come and watch.
Are you a shameless daddy's girl like I am?
I am. I'm a big daddy. You know what? There was always this joke like I'm daddy's little boy because he doesn't have a boy. So I'm his boy.
Are you the last?
No, I'm not. That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
I'm semi-middle child, so I have a little bit of middle child syndrome.
Well, I'm a shameless daddy's girl, and much to my mother's chagrin. But you know what? You reap, you sow. Both of my daughters are also daddy's girls. So,
you see?
You know, whatever. I'll get another one that's mine. But yes, so I'm really happy to have you on with us today and for us to have this conversation. But let me hear a little bit more about you and collaborations that you've been involved in. Okay. What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Why is this something that youth need to know about?
Collaborations, I've done a couple. I had one. I do have my own brand of wine. So I did collaborate with a friend that I went to high school with, where it was kind of like a self-care package. So get a massage and also get some wine. And that was
skip the massage and just get the
wine. I know. A lot of people are just like, I got a lot of DMs like, can we just get the wine? And I'm like, get the massage too. Because I experienced the massage and I'm like, massage is important.
Yeah.
And I've also collaborated with intimate sessions. I believe that is a collaboration because it's business as much as it's a not-for-profit and it's something that we're doing for women. It's two different. It's as a board. It's different people from different walks of life collaborating in order to have just one mindset for like a greater good or a goal. Yeah. And when it comes to collaborating, I know that we're in this time where it's kind of like me. Mm-hmm. Right. So sometimes I feel that there's this, like people, I don't know if it's pride, if it's pride to collaborate, if they're embarrassed, if they don't know where to start. Like, I don't really know what it is, but I feel that there's nothing wrong with collaborating. There's, even if it's like, let's say within business, there's a big pot to share. Collaborate.
Yeah. We've had a major shift in this thinking, and our young people are kind of feeling the brunt of it right now.
Yes.
Where, a few years ago, I think it's so funny that we have this thing called the sharing economy, right? Mm-hmm. The shared economy right now. Because many years ago, when I was studying business, we used to have in our business ethics classes
Mhm.
debate over whether or not it was ethical for a business to provide social goods. So should a business be helping to build a bridge in the community?
Yes.
Should a business be helping to pave roads? Is this ethical?
Yes.
Because the purpose of a business is to increase shareholders' profit.
Yeah.
And so anything that you do that doesn't increase shareholders' profit is not ethical. This is the argument that we're having. And so those of us weirdos sitting down in the classroom who aren't, there was no space for me at that time because I had a business mind, but a nonprofit heart. And so I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, these are the same people who are going to come and buy corned beef from your supermarket.
Absolutely.
Right? Why wouldn't you help it? You have to drive on the road. Right? And so now we have this shift towards, sharing and gigs and whatnot. But our young people are kind of still stuck in this me culture.
Yes.
So let's talk about it. Let's get into this a little bit.
Absolutely.
How do you define collaboration? What does it mean?
So to me, honestly, collaboration is just having the same mindset or the same goal. So it doesn't even need to be two. I need to get off this two thing. Maybe it's because it's two of us sitting here.
So two or more.
Let me put it that way. Two or more individuals coming together with a same goal in mind. So if it's, let's say, and this is my definition of collaboration. You can go and Google it, people. But in terms of, if it's, let's say, collaborating in terms of business, so either making revenue for the individuals, the parties together, or collaborating on a project, having a same goal, a mindset, and making sure that something is done. So let's say, I'm going to use your example of the bridge. You and I can collaborate and say, okay, we're going to make sure that this bridge gets done. However, maybe I don't have a strong suit in drawing and planning, but I'm good in building. But your strong suit is in drawing and planning. So let's collaborate and let's get this bridge done. So that is how I define collaboration.
Yes, right. Leaning on those comparative advantages, that thing that one person has that the other person may. And I think it's also good to highlight that you may both be good at something, but it just may not be best use of time. Absolutely. It may not be best use of resources for you both to do it, right? So, you've had lots of examples of different ways that you've collaborated. How do you separate, like you said, like if it's a nonprofit or for-profit, your business collaborations versus your volunteering and your giving?
So with how I separate my collaborations, pertaining to volunteering, or if it's something collaborative for gaining revenue, is volunteering more so is, okay, maybe I have the time, I can give my time. Whereas collaborating, I feel that there needs to be set goals in mind or set positions. So for example, and guys, I'm sorry, I may be using this bridge example because you brought up the bridge and I'm just like, yeah, that's true. So for example, with the bridge, there's, as they say, SMART goals, is sound, measurable, attainable, all that. So we have to get this bridge done at a certain time. Okay, we know that. This is what our budget is. Okay, we know that. Do we need other help? Yes, we do. Okay, maybe you outsource the help on this end, I'll outsource the help on this end. That's collaboration. Whereas volunteering is more so of,
you show up with a shovel.
I show up with a shovel. Maybe the bridge is almost done, but I did show up.
I show up with a shovel.
You know what I mean? So I showed up, or maybe I was there for the ribbon cutting. Once the ribbon was cut, I swept up all the, but that's volunteering. Volunteering is kind of just doing what you can at that present moment. Whereas collaboration is, you do work, I do work, we get this done.
So, that's really important because sometimes we may invite somebody else into our collaboration. We're expecting that both sides are going to go 110% hard at this until we get it done. But the other person is showing up for the ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Right. So how do we define, what is our end goal for our collaboration? What's the end game for any collaboration?
The end game for any collaboration is, before we even get to the end game, I'm one of those people. Before we get to the end game, there has to be communication. there has to be set goals. There has to be a strategy in place. I'm someone who I'm big on planning. So if we're saying that this is what we're going to do in order to get to the end goal, we have to do check-ins. And that also comes down to the communication, right? Fostering a bond, making sure that, okay, hey, were you able to do this? Okay, you were able to do this. Okay, well, we got to get this done because we got to get to the end goal. Because at the end of the day, even like schoolwork, you know, if there are any youth that are watching, when you're in a group project and there was only a that didn't do anything, and then you take everything, you know, I've been in scenarios like that.
There's always A doing
you
nothing.
Know, and I want it so bad. I'm one of those people who I'll just be like, you know, forget it, I'll just do everything because it's my grade on the line. You know what I mean? Right. So the end goal is just, before you get to the end goal, you need to make sure that you're cleaning up those nooks and crannies, and it's just clear and concise communication, knowing there's a plan in place, so that when you do get to the end goal, you're just like, we did it, we completed it. Yeah.
I love that. So making sure that there's clear communication going all the way throughout, making sure that we know what it is that we're working towards, and making sure that those expectations are clear.
Absolutely.
Right? So if I'm calling you in from the beginning, maybe I need to check in. Are you shovel?
Yeah.
Or plan and build, you know?
Absolutely.
And maybe like being able to suss out, is that partner, where does that partner best fit? Because we need all the pieces.
Absolutely.
Right? And so really being clever enough. So let's say there's a young person who, you know, is thinking about starting a business. You know, they have some ideas. Maybe they know how to hustle. You know, I don't know about you, but I used to sell candy at school. Right.
See, this is, I think, this is how I am the biggest hustler.
Right.
Like one of my aunties during the pandemic, you know, and it was a joke. She was just like, I am not going to be surprised if you get up and I see a WhatsApp broadcast that you're selling vaccines for. And I was just like, you know, please, YouTube, don't bring this down. Right. It was just a joke. It was a joke. And I was just like, I'm like, Auntie, if I can, I will.
Right. Like, what does the market need right now? Let's respond to market demand.
Do some research. Can my money do this? Okay, yes.
Again, YouTube.
It's just a joke.
Yeah, nobody's doing that. But so you have a young person, they want to start a business. They're hearing us talk about this collaboration thing. Why should they do it? Why should they care if everything in life seems as though you get through if you just work hard yourself?
Why they should collaborate? And you know what? Because sometimes when talking to youth, especially in this day and age, it's hard. It's hard speaking to them because they're dealing with so much. It's important because you cannot do it all on your own. You can't do it all by yourself. I had to learn the hard way in everything and anything that I do, that sometimes I just can't, because you just reach to a point where you don't know it all. So I believe that youth, especially if you're someone who you're starting off in your business, even if collaboration is not the right word to use with you, learn.
Right.
Learn from someone who has been there, done that. Learn from someone who is doing it. Or collaborate with another friend and, you know, and say like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I see that you're trying to do the same thing. Why don't we come together and dominate?
Right.
There is nothing wrong with that. So I feel that the reason they should collaborate, especially when they're starting off a business, is it mitigates losses as well. Because if you're starting off a business, you're gonna go all in. You're gonna go like I've experienced certain things where I went all in, and when you go all in, and sometimes if you lose all out. Right. So if you're collaborating with someone, and you know, obviously you're not going with the mindset that you're gonna lose, but if you're collaborating with someone as you're starting off a business, you also you mitigate loss.
Loss of time,
loss of money,
loss of reputation,
everything.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
now it's, even if there's a loss, you can still like, okay, let's draw back, go back to the drawing board. And I'm someone if someone says to me, oh, that girl, like, she failed in this or she didn't do well in this, me personally, I don't let that even affect me, because I could go back to the drawing board re-strategize and come back stronger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
youth, if you're doing anything, you're starting off a business, it's okay to join forces with someone, because with someone you're stronger. Yes, maybe by yourself you feel like, yeah, I got it, I could do this, I'm strong. So now imagine if you partner with someone who's equally as strong as you. That's it. Like,
Yeah,
you're blowing.
yeah. Do you think it's a point of maturity? Like we come to the end of ourselves at some point, and then suddenly we recognize that collaboration would have helped us along the way. You know, can you tap into that now instead of waiting until 10 years
10
down
years
the
down the
road
line.
and be like, oh, wait a minute.
You know what? I think it's just not even just with business or anything. I think it's not just maturity, but it's experiences. You know what I mean? There's things that, like us sitting here, there's things where we haven't experienced that. There's a 17-year-old out on somewhere who's has experienced it. And now, if let's say we happen to go through that situation per se, well, maybe we'll be freaking out. Maybe we won't know how to handle it. Whereas that 17-year-old who's somewhere
Right.
would see us and just be like,
just do this.
Yeah,
just do
like
that.
you're okay. You got this. You know what I mean? So it's not even just in a sense of just maturity or age, but I feel like sometimes it's also with experiences. Like what's the saying? Those who don't hear must feel.
Well, in Barbados, we say hard airs you don't hear, only you can feel. That's what we say.
About the little Africans, and those who don't hear, they hold their ears. Those you don't hear.
But it is so true, because sometimes we're going through something that may present to us what looks like an insurmountable challenge.
Yes.
And then somebody else who's been through some hard things in life.
Yes.
Again, differentials to their age, right?
Absolutely.
But they've been through hard things in life, and they can fix it or just see it from a new perspective. You know, and I think that's one of the things that in our youth we don't necessarily value perspective.
Yes.
Because generally speaking, when we're young,
yeah,
we got it covered.
Yeah.
We know everything.
I got
right?
this.
So now let's say they decide, okay, what Sandra is saying makes sense.
Yes.
I'm going to try this collaboration thing. How do you start?
Yeah. You got to research. Research. Don't just sit there and just, this guy, let's say, for example, it's a business to do with making shirts. Now, moving from the bridge guys to, let's say, a business.
Yeah, like my Her Story shirt.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
So you have Her Story. Perfect. Now I could be like, okay, you know what? I like the shirt. Have you thought about maybe making jackets? You'll just be like, not really. Okay, I know somebody who can make jackets, or I can design jackets. I can get a manufacturer who could do it at this price, and we can also include jackets. So now you have a shirt, you have a jacket. Have you thought about maybe a winter hat or a cap? Oh, no. Okay, I can. So now you're just like, okay, this person, we have the similar thing. Maybe we're both into clothes. So now, okay, how can we work? You do shirts, you're kind of into jackets, or you're kind of into streetwear. Okay, I feel each other out in the sense of like, okay, are you just talk, or can you actually produce?
Right.
Because sometimes.
So maybe you want to start small then.
Yeah, start small. Because sometimes people can sell a big game. And then once you shake hands, you're just like, oh, like you're holding your head like, what did I get myself into, right? And if you're someone who you're very into contracts, let's say you sign a contract with this individual. Now it's a contractual agreement. Sometimes you can't get yourself out of it. Right. So now you're stuck in it. So start small, assess the individuals that you're trying to collaborate with. So research. Once you research, you find individuals. It could be in your own circle. It could be online, whatever the case is. Now you assess. Do an assessment. You can make your own self. Do I vibe with this person? Right. Sometimes people will be like, oh, the vibe is not there. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? If you're someone who you're spiritual, pray about the person. You know, maybe not everybody is into prayer. Somebody may be like, why? Just
do you
do what works for you.
But I think what I'm hearing is there's the pragmatic side,
yes,
and then there's that esoteric thing that you can't quite put a finger on.
Absolutely,
you know, but you need both, not one or the other.
Don't just jump the gun. Like, don't be too quick, right? And then, of course, just see how you can balance each other out in a sense of this is where I fall short, but this is where your strength are. So if you guys can balance each other out in terms of covering each other's weaknesses, honestly, try it out. You never know until you try.
Yeah.
Try it.
All right. So you're going to do your research. You're going to start small with somebody that you think you've assessed and this could work. You're going to have your checks and balances along the way.
Absolutely.
You know, you're going to pray about it. If you're, you know, if you pray, meditate, give it some thought, whatever that thing is. You know, my father shared with me that established businessmen always have their wives meet a potential partner because they've grown to trust their wives' sixth sense.
Yes.
And they won't go forward no matter how good a deal looks if she says no.
Wow.
Right. And so there's, you know, that understanding of there's logic, there's things on paper, there's things you can check off. And then there's that esoteric piece that you can't quite always, you can't define it necessarily. But, you know, as a Jamaican say, my spirit not taking.
Oh my God. Or you know what? In this sense, if you're a youth and, you know, you're not married yet, because, you know, some youth are married, whatever this is, please don't say you're going to get your girlfriend or boyfriend. Like, please don't. Ask your mama.
You ask your
mama. You know what?
Yes.
Because you know, on social media, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes I'll be scrolling, laughing at memes. Like, you know, they'll say like, your mom knows your friends, who your true friends are before you do.
Right.
So ask your mom. Yeah. Ask your. There's a, as much as, you know, growing up, like people outside would see like I'm a wild card, like very rah. But the thing is, like, I actually asked my parents for their input in a lot of things. Like my mom will be like, no, don't, because she's very calm. But then I'll go to my dad because my dad is like, he's like for it. But they align because he'll just be like, no. And I'll just be like, really? Come on, guys. And I honestly, I'll fall back.
Yeah.
So ask your mama.
Yes. So everybody's in different situations.
Yes.
Ask that person in your life that you trust to speak into your life.
Absolutely.
You know, because we both worked in spaces with youth and we know that sometimes some of those personal family relationships, those dynamics can be a bit challenging. So if there is someone who is more experienced and you trust this person to speak into your life, get them to check things out. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we're going to start. We kind of have our game plan. We're ready to go forward. What do you look out for? Does you talk about like, we're going to put this thing on paper and then there's that, maybe I vibe with them, maybe I don't.
Yes.
But what are some of the things on the checklist that, you know, they have to pass the vibe test? Like,
some things on the, you know, have a conversation with the person. I know that in some of the business or side things that I've done or ventured in, I sit down with the person and just see like maybe where they're coming from background wise. So background wise, it could just be like, why do you want to get into this? Like a simple conversation as, why do you want to get into this? And you just have to listen to the way people speak about things. Sometimes people are very passionate in the sense of like, this is something I've always wanted to do. Right. I just didn't know where to start from. So then it's just like, you tap into that realization, like, I know where to start. So let's move. So it could just be a simple conversation as to the person's why. Why do you want to get into this collaboration or into this business? To like, how much work are you willing to put into this? Because I'm pretty sure in our day-to-day lives, sometimes our schedules, maybe you yourself know that on weekends, I cannot commit myself to be maybe answering emails or to have meetings, but I'm more so available weekdays. Maybe you're in the space of, well, I'm going all in. So maybe, no, I need someone who's also all in.
Right.
Or if you really, just from the person's why, if you're really like, okay, this person is genuine, this is who I want to work with, you can maybe compromise a little. However, I wouldn't suggest compromise too much because when you do compromise, then you're going to lose sight of what was the why, what was the initial reason to start. So just, you know, like manage it out. And then also, of course, just see maybe what previous work they've done. Have you ever collaborated with someone before? Those questions are important because sometimes someone will be like, oh yeah, I've collaborated with so-and-so. Okay. Now you'll go and look at that collaboration and you will see that this maybe like tanked. It tanked, but the person like their why was nice.
Right.
Vibe check was good. You're like, okay, they're all in 24, they're good to go. But then you went to go and check a collaboration that they were part of and it did not do well.
Right.
You have to run.
Right.
Or
see if they're able to take responsibility.
Yes, I was about to say. Or ask questions, why did this not go well? What happened there? Was it something on your part? Was it a together thing? Like whatever the case is, like don't be quick to jump to the conclusion. I know I did say run, however, be open to ask questions because sometimes we're quick to judge or we're quick to come to an opinion. So I think that's important.
Yeah. I remember being in a conversation with someone that we had so much in common, and the vibe check was fire, right?
Yes.
And yes, my 10-year-old daughter is about to cringe when she hears me say that.
Fire,
right? Mommy got the lingo. We're talking to youth today. Like I literally made sure that I research, bring in receipts and stuff. Really, right?
Receipts.
All the riz.
When I heard the receipts, I don't know if you saw me chuckle. Like I was just like,
yes, I did my research for today. If we're talking to the young people, I'm going to talk young people language, right? But yeah, so we, things were going really well in this conversation, and I asked about a previous experience, and this person threw their team under the bus.
Oh no!
And I was just like, and so lovely person, lots of things that we can do together on the outskirts, but I know that that's not a person I'm going to bring in because if something goes wrong, we're going to stand up and stand tall and say this is what we should have done differently, right?
Absolutely.
And then I think about, when I talk about like what to look for, I think about the example of Henry Ford. Did you ever hear how he chose his executives?
No.
He would take them to dinner and see if they would pepper and salt their steak before tasting it.
Really?
Yes, because he's only hiring engineers.
Okay.
So will you make a decision with limited information? That's what he was testing for.
Wow.
So yeah, sure, you got all the mathematical acumen and you know how to do all that stuff, but are you in a habit, a subconscious habit of taking action without adequate information?
Wow.
And that was his litmus test, right?
Well, I think I would get hired.
Let me taste this.
Yeah, let me taste first.
Pepper sauce,
But, so then what happens now? You put the salt and it's too salty.
Right, exactly. Ew. You put the pepper, it's too peppery, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so that was one thing. I think another thing I've heard about is seeing how people treat others. Seeing how they treat people that they think are less than them.
Yes.
Right. So, are you going to be rude to the janitor, to the waiter, or whatever you think is lower than your status or your standard? Absolutely. Can you be polite? Can you, be genuine? Can you move through with a real smile? What kind of person are you under there?
Yes.
So those are some other things that I would add to our list. I hope you guys are taking notes. Go watch the replay and comment below. What are some things that in hindsight you wish you had paid attention to in collaborations? And, let's broaden it a little bit, because business relationships are very much like marriages, right? And so, whether it's in an interpersonal relationship, a business relationship, any type of work that you've done with another person, let us know what you wish you had seen, what those red flags were that maybe you ignored. Or, you kind of explain them away when they were coming up. And so, we talked about making sure that we know what to look out for. I'm asking everybody else, but I'm going to ask you, what are some common mistakes that you see other people making when they're collaborating?
Oh, guys, don't kill me for this, but I see sometimes, this is solely my opinions, guys. So, people collaborate because, we're friends. I'm not saying don't collaborate with your friends.
But that can't be all.
Yeah. Just because someone is your friend, it's different. Business is like, sometimes you have to take the emotion out of business. So now someone's your friend, you have a certain relationship with them. If business is not going well, what do you think will happen to your friendship? So sometimes people do this mistake of, oh, it's my friend, so yeah, we're definitely going to collaborate and do. But then you realize when you get into business with them, your friend is not, they're a great friend, but they're not a good business partner. So they get into collaborations with their friends. Sometimes people get into collaborations with family. Now I know I'm touching on basically like, I'm like, then you're gonna say who's left to collaborate with. No, not at all. But I'm just saying, like, you really have to be careful, because even if it's family, then it's like, let's say when something goes wrong, are you able to have a conversation with, let's say, in a matters of respect, you should respect everyone. However, I know in an African home, I'm pretty sure in a Caribbean home, my oldest sister, now if we're in a collaboration and something is going wrong, do you have is it in you to tell your sister, like, pick up your slack? Or is your sister going to take it in offense in terms of, I'm the older sister, why are you talking to me like that? But this is a business thing. Like, you need to pick up your slack. Something is being let down now. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes you have to be careful with, when it comes to relationships that you have with people, whether it's friends, families, partners. Are you willing, or are you capable to separate the relationship you guys have from the collaboration?
Right. So how professional can we be in this space? Can we check some of those relationships at the door?
Yes.
And understand that when we come into this space, this is business.
Yes.
And can we respect each other across the table? Absolutely. So removing the hierarchy that may exist in our social structure.
Yes.
And submitting ourselves to, like you said, that overarching end goal.
Yes.
This is what we're working towards.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, for sure. So when in your nonprofit work, I'm asking this very specifically. Do you come across a lot of boards that are like, half of them are family, or like,
no, actually,
half of them are best friends growing up?
No.
Okay.
You know what? Because even with, like, shout out to Intimate Session, shout out to Princess, shout out to the Peach Board. I met, like, in terms of, like, let's say, Intimate Sessions, Princess and I we knew each other in passing. We knew each other in passing, maybe seen each other like a couple of places, but we wouldn't say we were friends. But we grew a friendship, a sisterhood, through coming together and saying, let's do this, through a mutual party. You know what I mean? And that built something, it fostered something. Like, and life gets crazy, but when I do remember, like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Like, joke, have a conversation. It's building a relationship, and so we were not friends. We didn't know each other. I mean, we're not friends. I don't even say it so harsh. We didn't know each other in that sense. So how can two strangers come together and still say, okay, and it was her idea of, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to bring forward. This is what I want to push out there. These are the people I want to help. And I said, I'm for it. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
So you guys came together about the work, not about the relationship between yourselves necessarily.
But now we're cool. Yes. Yeah, but there's a good relationship. I know it's like I'm trying to backtrack, but I'm not backtracking for what I'm saying. But it's true. Like, we didn't know each other in that sense. So,
but that friendship grew out of the work.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Yes, so it's like something beautiful can grow from that, right?
Yeah.
And even so, like I stated, she's the ED. This was something where she's like, this is what I wanted. Like, this is what I want to do. This is my passion. This is my heart. This is my idea, my baby. This is something I birthed. Are you willing and able to say, like, I want to stand with you and let's do this? And I said, yes. Nice. Right? Then you have to think about your yes.
Well, you know what? That point is so interesting, because while you may not jump into a collaboration purely based on the fact that that person is your friend, I've also experienced tremendously profound and long-lasting friendships developed with people when we started out working.
Absolutely.
You know, and because you come together for the work, you come together for the good thing that you're going to do together, you realize, you know what, there's a lot in common here.
Absolutely.
And that you know, that worldview is about the same. So before we sign off, Sandra, after we've done this, you know, we've done our research, we, you know, as someone we trust, we suss out a partner, we start small, we put it all in writing, we communicate clearly, you know, we avoid common mistakes as much as possible, we check in, we ask lots of questions, we evaluate as we go through, and let's say it's a success. How can a young person pay it forward after all of that?
Teach somebody else. You have great memory, by the way. Sorry. I was just like, yep, I said that. But you know what? How someone can pay it for is help somebody else. You know, people think like success, like there's what? I don't know. I think they said there's 80 billion people on. How many people are on Earth?
8 billion now. 8.2.
See, so I was even jumping that. I remember there was an 8 there, but you know, the 8.2 billion people on Earth. We have like billionaires and millionaires, and there's some that we don't even know about. So why do you think that there's not so much success out there for you to attain? Just because you did it and it was good for you, don't just hold on to the jewels. Don't hold on to it. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that because you're younger, maybe no one, what you have to say is not valid or it shouldn't be heard. Like, I'm here, and sometimes there are people younger than me that I admire their hustle, their drive, what they're doing. I'll be there and I'll just be like, wow. Yeah. However, that person will probably see me somewhere and I will fangirl. I am not ashamed to say I will fangirl and say like I am longtime fan, or I'll be like longtime follower. I told someone the other day, a business owner actually, and I was like, longtime follower. I support everything that you do, and this is my first time here, you know. And it's amazing because this person is younger than me, but I'm there like, I'm proud of you, and you don't even know how that makes that person feels. They could probably be having a bad day, and you just saying that just boosted their morale. So if you're able to have a successful collaboration, a successful business, a successful partnership, teach others so that they can also do it too. Teach your circle, right? You know, they say the same birds of the same feather flock together. Don't be the only millionaire around in your circle. Because now if you're the only millionaire in your circle,
everybody come in.
Either they're coming or they're gonna be hating.
Well, yes.
So
there's that.
Put everyone on, like put them on, and at the end of the day, it's up to them if they're willing. You drop them the jewels, the gems, the knowledge. You know, I'm saying these like drop them the gems, the knowledge. It's up to them to take it and run with it.
Yeah. So after you glow up, don't gatekeep.
Right? Yes. Open the gates.
Listen, I'm proud of me. My daughter will probably try to bury this YouTube video, but I am proud of me. Listen, you have been listening to Community Conversations on your #1 Caribbean and Afrobeat music talk radio station, Love Bay Radio. And I'm so thankful that you joined me today, Sandra. And I actually have you stay up with me for our next segment, Community Come Along. And yes, please, we're going to be talking about a nonprofit organization that Sandra and I are both, you know, a part of. And that is the Black Book Fair. That's BLK Book Fair. So here's Sandra's bag. Let's see. Can you guys see it?
My chocolate girl.
So Black Book Fair is started by Pearl Catherine Tita, and Pearl is an amazing visionary woman who she realized that there was something missing. You know, she wanted to find more Black people in the literary space and really create space for us to be celebrated. And instead of being one of those people who like, oh, somebody else out there should do that. No, Pearl was like, I am going to do it. Absolutely. And here's Pearl's book, Beneath the Shade. Wait, hold on. I'm going to make sure you guys can see. There we go. Beneath the Shade by Pearl Catherine Tita. Pearl, we love you, girl. We love you, girl. And I have a signed copy of this one from the author
Yes.
himself. Thank you very much. Dr.
Mhm.
Dr. Sam Tita. Again, like I said, we're coming to you from the Enrich Center, which Sam and his family has made available to entrepreneurs in the Toronto area to be able to come together and develop tons of collaborations.
Absolutely.
So make sure you get his book, Black Truths. And I'm just going to pick up a few more of the books here by some of the members of the nonprofit organization. So you sign up and you get your membership and you're able to have your books. Now, I know this isn't all of them. These are just the ones that are here that I have to display. But you'll be able to have your book on our shared website. Now, Pearl does some really cool things. This one is super glary. I'm sorry. Pearl does some really cool things where she'll set up book signings at Indigo Bookstore, for example, or going to talk to young people at elementary schools and high schools and create these opportunities for authors to come together and to showcase their work and to have their voices elevated. For me as an author myself, my book will pop up here at some point. But here we have from, the legendary Wes Hall, him telling his own story. You get to be a member of an organization with this caliber of author. And honestly, I mean, what Pearl does for us and the very, very small membership fee that we pay, it's, I keep trying to give her more money out of my pocket for all the work that she does. Right. But we have children's books, adult books, all different types of books here. This one was actually written by a little girl. She is the cutest thing.
I'm like,
she is so adorable. She is so smart.
She goes, hi, auntie. I'm like, yes.
She is something. I can't. Oh my Lord. But anyways, this one is actually written by a child and it's a great story. Oh, here my book was last. Right.
Save the best for last.
Of course. Maybe not the best, but definitely, I'm super biased. Duh.
Toot your horn.
But if you are a Black author in the Toronto area, then you want to go to BLK bookfair.com so that you can learn more about how you can become a member there with the lovely Pearl Catherine Tita. And now for our final segment, more love. We are here to share more love. And again, if you want to have your logo flashing up on the screen right now with me and my photo, please send us a message and let us know that you want to support Love Bay Radio, the #1 Caribbean and Afrobeat music radio and talk radio on the internet. And we're coming to you live on YouTube so that you can be a part of this phenomenon. So coming up Christmas Day, members of the Love Bay Radio team are going to do their annual Christmas walkabout where they give Christmas gifts and supplies to the homeless in Toronto. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but the number of homeless individuals in Toronto has been skyrocketing. And it's cold outside. It is levels of cold.
I don't want to think about it. It's too cold.
Right? And we are inside.
And I was born here.
Right. Okay. Right. So imagine our immigrant friends.
Yeah.
Right? Especially recently migrated.
Yes.
Who are not used to this level of cold, who don't have themselves situated. Who are finding themselves outside right now. Okay. I don't know the name of the organization. I'm sorry, but your slogan is very powerful and effective. It says, don't let poverty assumptions get in the way of poverty solutions. Homelessness. Don't let homelessness assumptions get in the way of homelessness solutions. We look at persons who are homeless and we immediately decide that we know their life story.
Yes.
But we don't.
No.
Right. And so the reality is that we have a lot of young people on our streets in the bitter cold, and they need support and supplies. So you're going to take a pen and you're going to write this number down, or you'll copy and paste it. We'll put it in the comments below. It's 437-778-3299, and you can get us on WhatsApp as well. Make sure that you are able to send in your donation, whether that is financial or in kind if you're in the Toronto area. and you want to be able to provide either a gift or supplies or toiletries, we don't think about things like period equity for women and young girls who are on the streets, right? So how can we make sure that they have good choices for taking care of themselves at this time? What's convenient for them to walk around with so that they can be able to change in a park bathroom, for example? There's so many options. Go dig in that cupboard, go straight to your nearest supermarket. I'm not advertising for none of y'all, so go straight to your nearest supermarket and make sure that you are part of this conversation in your community, because friends, we can't do it without you. That is it for community conversations with our friend Sandra and Anin. And we'll make sure that we have links so that you can find her. Thank you so much for joining me, and continue listening to these vibes, Christmas vibes that we have playing for you here on your number one Caribbean and Afrobeat music talk radio, Love Bay Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. And until we meet again, keep talking, community.